Welcome back to the news today. Tennis authorities have vigorously denied suppressing match-fixing claims after a bombshell report alleging widespread corruption cast a shadow over the start of the Australian Open. World number one Novak Djokovic revealed today that he was indeed approached to fix a match at the beginning of his career. Here with me to discuss the sensitive issue of gambling in sports are Jonathan Regev, host of i24 News Sports Magazine. Good evening.
Good evening, Ayman.
And also Yoav Borowitz, i24 News Flash editor. Good evening.
Good evening.
Jonathan, let's begin with you. I was very surprised from this statement by Djokovic. Why?
No, there's no reason to be surprised. You know, we have an image of tennis, of tennis as being the clean sport. It's called the white sport, where in Wimbledon they bow to the queen, they dress in white. They don't even say 0, they say 15 love or 30 love. But at the end of the day, it's people and people with temptations, and there's big money involved. And you know what? We tend to think of tennis players as millionaires who don't need it. Don't need money for other than playing in endorsements. That may be true for the players in the top 20, maybe top 30. They are those who take paychecks of hundreds of thousands of dollars for every tournament they win. But if you're ranked outside the top 50, outside the top 100, you struggle to make a living because all the money you pay to travel to tournaments, that's big money. And then someone comes and approaches and says, you know, you don't even have to lose the match. You make sure in this point in this game you make a double fault or you hit the ball too long and you get half your yearly wage. That's tempting, and many players fall. And so is it surprising? Not at all. At the end of the day, it shouldn't be surprising that it happens in tennis. It's the same as it happens in athletics, in football, in cycling with doping, in any other sports.
Yoav, are you also not surprised? Because it's not just about temptation. There are allegations of blackmail, that blackmail could be involved in this fixing scandal.
Yes, and we're also talking about top-ranked players because the BBC and BuzzFeed revealed that 16 players from the top 50 in the last decade were flagged for suspicions of match fixing. So we're talking big players. Some of them, was revealed, were Grand Slam winners. Is it surprising? Yes and no. It is surprising because you never expect so many players to be involved in that. But thinking about what Jonathan said about the temptation, the easy money, the quick fix, you know, the guy who pays the money, the guy who receives the money, it's between them. It's a closed circuit. Nobody's interest that it will be leaked out. And you know, so many times in tennis and in other sports, we see fixed matches. We can have our suspensions, but we can think of something, but we have no proof, and we just watch the games. We continue to watch the games. We have no idea of what's going on behind the scenes.
Well, Jonathan, Yoav is mentioning a closed circuit, but how deep does it go? Because they released 16, not even names. They said that 16 players of the top 50 are involved in this, but they didn't name them. This seems like it would damage everyone on the top 50 list.
And that's a big problem. They're saying 16 names, and they're saying, you know, the Australian Open started today, and they're saying 8 players of this list are actually participating now, these days, in the Australian Open. Can it be Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Serena Williams, Maria Sharapova? Theoretically speaking, yes. I would say absolutely not. But then again, they are participating in the Australian Open, so why would you not think of them and think of other players? This tarnishes everybody because everyone is a suspect, and we've heard the players, we've heard Roger Federer say today, you have names, name them, because if you don't name them, you're basically pointing at everybody.
But also, we know we should take into consideration that the ATP got all those names during the years, and we haven't heard of anyone suspended, almost anyone of any importance. You know, the problem is that not only the player who gets the money and the player who pays the money have the interest for it never to be revealed, but also the leagues. And I'm talking tennis, I'm talking soccer leagues, I'm talking American sports.
Athletics, the Russian Federation, for example,
have,
the story
and
we've
especially in professional sports, when there's big money, the last thing you want is for a PR disaster. And you know, think of soccer now. If we hear that Cristiano Ronaldo sells games, you know, fixed matches, it will really hurt the game. It will really hurt the Spanish League. It can really hurt the Premier League if players there are caught. Also American sports. So the allegations is that many times the people who run those leagues know of those things, and they try to they try to deal with it behind closed doors because they don't want it to leak, because then they harm their own sports. So the leagues have no interest of cleaning up the sport because people continue to watch, the money pours in, people don't care about doping and don't care about match fixing as long as they don't know of match fixing and doping. So, in baseball, when there was the great doping era of the 90s, was the greatest time of baseball, so it doesn't really influence the sport, the financial aspect, unless you're caught. Like people in cycling were caught, when Lance Armstrong won all those Tour de France's, the whole world was captivated. He was a huge star. There was huge money. There was never so much interest in cycling. Beside those doping years of Lance Armstrong. So it's good for business, but if you're caught, it's bad for PR. So think about the people running the sports. They don't want to give us the truth, So this is a very, very sad reality. Whenever we watch sports, we should always look at it, take it with a grain of salt, and say, we never know.
It's interesting that Yoav mentions Lance Armstrong, because this, of course, makes me think of, can this match fixing scandal really spill outside of tennis?
Absolutely, it already does. We have, for example, a similar case perhaps can be seen in athletics. The Russian Federation, which are now banned. Russian athletes are banned from international competitions. Why? Because for years, systematically, the Russian Athletics Federation, they knew of doping cases in Russian athletics, and they mistreated tests and made sure this disappears for a while so that people do not speak about it. So and the same as what you have mentioned, the people at the head of the Russian Athletics Federation had no interest of these doping cases being. Yes, they want bring me the medals, and so they kept it quiet. Same as in tennis, the ITU, the tennis integrity federation, as it's called in tennis integrity unit. They, according to BuzzFeed and the BBC, they had all the information from 2007, and yet they kept it quiet because tennis is popular. The Australian Open is popular. Wimbledon is popular. Why tarnish this? But at the end of the day, there are always going to be people who know something, who leak it outside, and there it is. It happens to them. It comes over their head in the first day of the first Grand Slam of the year, and it is a PR disaster.
And eventually, we can also look at it from another direction. Players get paid, right? They get paid for playing games, but there's a huge market for sports gambling. Huge. I'm talking billions of dollars. From this money, they don't get paid. This is a huge money. It's on their backs. You gamble on those players. They get none of that cake. So suddenly, if someone from the gambling industry, a big shot in the gambling industry, wants to fix a match, a big match, comes to a player, tells him, listen, if you win a tennis match, you win $50,000. I'll pay you $250,000. Just lose this game. So the player wants the big money. There's a lot of those players are not very rich, most of them, and there's always a temptation. It's very easy to fix matches. It's very easy not to get caught. Very easy.
Well, what can be done about this? About how easy it is to get away?
Not a lot, because the problem with tennis, as apart from, say, football, you're one player in an 11-man team. So you can perform badly, but if the other 10 players perform, you're in trouble. Tennis, you're alone, and how can you prove that you sent your serve to the net on purpose? It's impossible to prove. I wouldn't say impossible, but almost impossible, unless you find some kind of a leak, tap their phones, look at their bank accounts. It's nearly impossible to prove those things. That's why I think they did not come with the names yet.
The only way to fight it, and I put quote unquote fight it, is two things. One thing they do in the U.S. In the U.S., first of all, in professional sports, the salaries are extremely high. So for you, if you get $10 million a year, in some leagues the average is about $7-8 million a year, it's taking a big risk to fix a game, and you won't even get paid fixing a match so much money that it's worth risking so much money you get paid in salary, and you'll be suspended for life.
So the only way to prevent this criminal activity is to pay players more?
Pay players more. Or what they do in American colleges and the NCAA, they put hundreds of millions of dollars into investigation. So a student athlete who doesn't get paid who's being offered to fix some matches, he will know if he will take the easy money, he will be suspended for life. He will not have a career. His name will be tarnished forever. In America and in the English Premier League, where it's a big professional league with big bucks, over there the match fixing is relatively very small. But in other leagues, it's all over the place.
There are always minor leagues with less money. Always.
Yes, well, the white sport, not so white anymore.
Not anymore.
Jonathan
Never
Regev
was.
and Yoav Borowitz, thank you very much for
you.
joining me tonight.